everybody. Welcome to Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life. Today, we have a very special guest in the studio, and I'm really looking forward to us having some outstanding conversation. I want to just let everybody know that this is still Ladies Power Lunch Coffee Break. We're just in a new place. We have been welcomed into the Win-Win Women Network, and we're really, really so grateful because our intentions are so aligned when it comes to this idea of supporting women in a really tremendous way. We are in a new studio, we're in a new place, we're in a new time, and a little slightly different format, but it's going to be the same sort of interviews that you have become accustomed to, where we bring in the best experts that we can find on the topics that we're talking about, and we're bringing them for you. And of course, at the end, you'll have an opportunity to have a little bit of Q&A with our special guest. For the first few shows that we've had here on the network, we've been focused on giving us a chance to get to know each other. So I spent a little bit of time focusing in on what I talk about and what I believe in, and this whole idea that collaboration is really the way to grow if you want to grow your business in a smarter way, the way that supports ease and flow, and that works really, really well for us, because we've been taught this idea of push and pull and struggle and stress and strain. And we have a saying, it's sort of a Jamaican saying. For those of you who missed the earlier shows, my parents are Jamaican, so you can take the Jamaica out of the girl, but you can't take the Jamaican out of the girl. So they have a saying that goes, if you want good, your nose has to run. Well, I am here to tell you that your nose doesn't have to run. It can be easier. It can be so much better if we're focused on working together, and not just working together because I think that you're going to give me something in return, but working together because we're women, and that's what women do. We come together and we support each other, and every single person wins. Everyone, all the boats rise. Rising tide lifting all the boats, never left one boat behind. I'm here to guarantee that. And so that's what I want to talk about a little bit today. Today, our special guest is Lisa Reed. She is super smart, super talented, but then aren't we all? She has an outstanding book called Get Speaking Gigs Now. And I just want to say, I'm going to pull a book off my shelf here. I just want to say that she graced us with her brilliance in our newest Ladies Power Lunch anthology as one of our co-authors. And she also talks about how you can use collaboration strategy to get more speaking gigs. So that's what we're going to be spending time talking about today. We're going to be talking about growing our business, but without the push and the pull and the stress and the strain. We're going to talk about getting speaking gigs now, how you can use speaking to support your business, and we're going to have a great time, I believe, doing it. So welcome, Lisa. First and foremost, I could spend a whole day trying to introduce you and trying to explain to everybody why I love you so much, but can you share with everybody who you are and the amazing things that you're doing in the world?
Oh, thank you, Dr. Divya. I'm so excited to be here, and it's been a pleasure to be a part of all the amazingness that you put out in the world. My name is Lisa Reed. I'm the founder of Get Speaking Gigs Now, and I started as a professional speaker when I was 40 years old, which looks like it hasn't even happened yet because I don't even possibly look like I'm 40, but I'm almost 50. And I started speaking. I had 0 speaking engagements, didn't have an email list, didn't have any clients, right? And I was hired by a personal development company to speak on their behalf in order to fill their workshops. And they had this model that worked, and they said, here's a great talk, go out and give it to as many people as would be willing to listen and bring those clients on in. And that's what I did. And that first year I booked 83 speaking engagements, and I scrapped and scratched, and, we'll talk about some of those mistakes later. I don't know if they were mistakes, but just lessons learned, let's say.
Lessons learned.
Lessons learned. And I thought, there's probably an easier way. I really liked your saying about the nose running. I was like, my nose was running. Okay. And I thought there's probably an easier way to do this. And I started to shortcut and make it easier and make it flow. And so we'll talk about that, about how does that collaboration process work and what's my life now and so on and so forth. So I'm very excited to be here today.
I'm really excited to have you guys. I invite you to go on over to the Ladies Power Lunch podcast and listen to Lisa Reed's episode. It's probably one of the highest rated episodes on our podcast because she brings that energy of fun to whatever she does. And that resonates so deeply with me because I'm all about fun. If you missed my first few episodes, then you kind of missed the days when I was waving my pom-pom or wearing my crazy glasses or doing something crazy on the show. But really and truly, if it's not fun, I don't really want to be a part of it. And also want to mention, my humor is about 13-year-old boy. That's the level of my humor because I do have small children. And so it happens that way. But Lisa, before we dive into how we can live our optimal lives through our business by getting speaking gigs and adding that in as a part of what we are offering, can you share with us a little bit about why it's important for us to also be taking care of ourselves, taking care of our own personal care, making sure that we're having fun too while we're doing this whole thing, and that it's not just about pushing and pulling and working and stressing and straining. Tell us, what have you been up to as far as taking care of your personal care and having fun goes?
I think that is so important, especially if you're planning on being a speaker, because honestly, you could say all the perfect words and have it all exactly right. And it could just go so smooth, but the audience feels your energy. They feel your feelings. So if you're stressed, but you say all the right things, they're going to feel the stress and they'll be like, that's weird. I liked what she said, but I'm feeling a little uncomfortable about it, right? So having your own energy be clean, and I think of it as like kind of washing the film away from the day, right? I like this morning, I cleaned my glasses. Well, I didn't go outside necessarily, but still within my home, they get a little film on it. And it's the same with our energy and our bodies and our souls and our spirit. So a couple of things that I love to do. I love Zumba, which I know you're a Zumba person as well. That always makes me feel really excited and fun. The other day I was wrapping some presents and I put on my Spotify Zumba playlist and I just did it in my living room by myself, dance party. I think that is so fun for me. That's what I love to do. And then I spent some time with some friends and my husband, and we went to the pool. We had, I went to a boutique the other day. So I didn't necessarily buy anything significant, but just going out, talking to people, connecting with other people. Those are the things that fill my cup up.
And I think for each of us, it's going to be different, right? So for me, if I put on that Spotify playlist and we're playing our Zumba, I'm probably dancing around in my living room with my babies because that's a fun thing for me. And, it's going to be different for everybody. But I think the bottom line here is that we're making time for it, that we're building it into our schedule, that it is a real part of our day. Because when we talk about that ease and that flow, it's personal care. So let's talk about getting speaking gigs now, because I know everybody wants to hear all about all the fun things that we're doing, but they really want to know how to get those speaking gigs now. And we talk about using collaboration to build that speaking practice. Can you share with us a little bit about your story, Lisa, about how you started out, and maybe share with us some of the things that we should avoid as we go on this speaking journey?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned and benefited from is collaborating with other speakers. And, Dr. Divya, you know me, and you've probably heard this before, but I'll share it again, just in case any listeners missed it in any of our past conversations. But I call it the speaker soulmate system, where you get to have fun and network with someone who you really, really like to help that speaking engagement referral come to you a lot easier. And how do you know if you have a speaker soulmate, or how do you find one? Well, you would, how I did it it really was natural. It was an authentic relationship that occurred. And what I found over the years, I was like, wow, this is actually really special, because I had tried to recreate it with other people, but it didn't always click. So I'll share a little bit about like kind of the pitfalls, but what clicked was I found someone who I really respected. I liked her. I trusted her. I knew if I referred her to a speaking engagement, she was going to show up. She was going to deliver a ton of value. And, I could sign off on that, like I knew I could rest assured she was going to deliver. And then she would also refer me to other speaking engagements. And we developed a relationship where we would just kind of both be off working and then come together and share. And I found that one relationship really, and this is the kicker for any of you who are like, oh, I thought I had to go talk to tons of people. She's referred over 100 speaking engagements to me, and I've given her over 100 speaking engagements. And it doesn't stop. Like even in the pandemic, we did it. Even after the pandemic, we did it. And we enjoy it. We just talked this week as well. And we work really well together, and it's not an official agreement. We don't have like a contract or anything like that. We're not exchanging money. It's just two people who enjoy hanging out, who respect each other, who are willing to share speaking referrals with each other. And when you can find that one or two people, you don't really need to look far and wide, right? You can really nurture that deep relationship. So the mistakes that are the lessons learned along the way when you're starting this new relationship, I think you just like anything, like if you're dating someone, you kind of relate it back to like dating. You're not going to marry that person on the first date, right? You're like, let's do lunch. Okay, maybe now I want to go to dinner with you. Okay, and then eventually, if you're in a relationship, you might try a weekend trip. You don't move in right away. You're like testing along the way, and it's the same with this kind of relationship. You don't just hand over everything, the keys to the castle, right? You give a little bit, see how they operate. Do they show up on time? Are they is the relationship, does it feel good? Are you kind of in an equal exchange? And I don't mean like nickel and diming. I just mean like, do both people feel like, just like in a friendship, like if you were always calling your friend and they never called you, you'd start to feel like, maybe they don't want to be, maybe this relationship isn't as important. So it's got to be somewhat equitable,
It has to be. It has to be. And I think this goes back to the 5 principles of Grow Your Business Smarter, the 5 principles of getting involved with a collaboration, because we've talked on other shows in the past about things that have happened in our lives that have caused us to maybe shy away from collaborating with other people. Things like being back in high school or college and having group projects where everybody didn't pull their own weight. Those are not collaborations. In order for a collaboration to be truly a collaboration, it has to be win, 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 which means you have to win, your partner has to win, the people that you're presenting to, so your audience has to win. And let's face it, there has to be a win for the greater good as well. So there are all these things that have to be satisfied. And in order to do that, there are the 5 principles of Grow Smarter. If you follow these principles, make sure that you're aligned, make sure that everybody who's in the collaboration is actually all in, including you, and making sure that there is appropriate assignment, because you want to make sure each person is working in her brilliance. And then, of course, getting the support, so applications and resources that you need, so that nobody in the relationship feels overloaded. If you're able to fulfill all of these 5 criteria, then you're going to have that win, 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 win that we so greatly look forward to. So finding a partner and partnering with them to get speaking gigs whenever you're speaking somewhere, you recommend them. Whenever they're speaking somewhere, they recommend you, and going back and forth with that can be really, really supportive. What about those of us who might be watching for whom speaking is not something that they've already included as part of their business? What would you say for those people? What are the reasons that they would want to consider speaking?
It's a great way to really scale your business. It's a great way to attract your ideal clients without having to do that scrambling of like, oh, I've got to go. I mean, I remember when I first started networking and it was like, you got to go to this was the advice back then. This is like maybe 20 years ago. And it's like, you got to go to the event and get as many cards as you can and give your card to as many people. And, kind of this hunting methodology that I found very distasteful.
Well, Lisa, I know exactly of what you speak because I was there too. I mean, not in the same rooms with you, but
yeah,
I had that similar experience. So I can see how that could be distasteful. And
yeah.
so you have found that doing speaking is a better way of sharing?
Yeah, I think it's really when there's certain folks that have like, there's a calling, like you may have woken up in the middle of the night with like, you're imagining you're giving a talk to a state, an audience of people, or it starts to come to you. I had a client, actually not a client, a friend of mine share with me the other day, she woke up at 3 a.m. and wrote this beautiful poem. And her husband's like, turn the iPad off. It's too bright. She's like, I have to get it out. And that's the sign of a speak. Like you are called, the message is coming to you. It needs to get out. Someone needs to hear it. And when you have that, it starts to get louder and louder, I think, as we get older and we start to open up and go, oh, hey, someone needs to hear this. And you can affect more people when you share your message with more people, whether it's on the TV show, a podcast, a stage, a virtual, in person, whatever, a writing, you write a book. There's all different ways to share your message. And speaking is such a fun way. I find, I know you do, it's a fun way to attract your clients. It's a fun way to get out and network. And I know that even if someone doesn't work with me, I had a good time. And I probably changed someone's life, even if I don't know that I did. Right. And to me, that's one of the things that makes my bell ring. Like I'm here to make a contribution to the world, to raise our consciousness, to, elevate people and go, oh, wow, what I have to say is important. Like, why else am I here? Why else am I here? And so whatever I can do to help people have the confidence to share their message, I'm in.
I love that. For most of us who are in this entrepreneurial space, we really, really do feel like we have a calling. Like we cannot put it down. We cannot leave it be. We might leave it for a while, but we end up coming back to this thing that we're so passionate about that we feel like we need to share with the world. But here's the thing that is a little problematic. When you look at things that are most anxiety producing for humans in general, public speaking is really, really high on that list. So Lisa, what advice would you have for the passionate entrepreneur who really wants to make a difference, really wants to make a change, but might be feeling a bit hesitant about speaking?
It's very common to have fears about entrepreneurship in general, right? And certainly public speaking can be a big trigger for people. What I have found is that eventually your message gets bigger than your fear. And even if you're scared, you do it anyway. Just like being an entrepreneur in general, starting your own business, creating a coaching package, writing a book, all that is scary. So it's just a different way of sharing your voice. And there are ways. I find that a lot of times our fear with public speaking is rooted from when we were kids. Who knows? There's so many myriad reasons what triggers that. And all of a sudden we have a bad experience as a little kid. We may not even remember it. And our system said, yeah, we're never doing that again. That was not something we're going to relive. So we're just going to never, put ourselves in that vulnerable spot. But now as adults, we can go, I'm not, in that situation anymore. I now know that people would like to hear what I have to say. We can kind of talk ourselves off the ledge a little bit if we're willing to explore that. And when we start to see that first time, it's kind of like a good drug, I will say. When you speak for the first time and someone comes up to you after and says, wow, I really needed to hear what you had to say. You affected me so much. You inspired me. It was like you were talking directly to me. I'm telling you, that's addictive. And I believe everyone has something that could help other people. So go for it.
Absolutely. Any hacks, any special advice, any little tips that you
Yeah.
have that you could share with us?
Well, one of the things I do help people with, because I know it's hard when you want to be a speaker, but you're like, I don't know how to put all my stuff into a talk. Like, how would I know what to say? How would I know that it would attract clients? So I do this thing called Get Your Talk Ready to Rock. And I have it in like a boot camp form where you can do it online on your own. I have it where I work with people closely on that, because I know once you have that talk, like in the can, if you will, like, okay, I'm in love with my talk. This talk's amazing. I can't wait to give it. I'm so excited. Remember that energy translates to the audience, and you know that it's guiding people to welcome them into your orbit and welcome them as clients. Woo, that's a good place you want to be. So that's a really great first step to becoming a speaker. If you do not have a talk done and you don't have a title, it's very difficult to step into being a speaker, because, and I'm saying, like, if speaker's not on your, LinkedIn profile, speaker on your Facebook profile, whatever those profiles are, the more ready you are, the more you're willing to go, yeah, I'm going to claim that title. I'm going to do that. But if you don't have your talk done, people will say, oh, you're a speaker. What do you speak on? And then you go, well, here's my favorite one. And I'm being sarcastic, but they'll say, oh, I speak on anything. I'm like, really? You do? You speak on like the penguins in Antarctica and their habits?
I actually do speak on this. No, I
don't. So you have to be willing to put your stake in the ground. So, and I help people with that, because it's hard to, and this is from Barb Pritchard, quote from Barb Pritchard coming up at you live here on our TV show. She said,
heard it here first, guys.
You heard it here first. She said, it's hard to read the label of the bottle when you're inside the bottle.
That's pretty true for all of us who have ever been inside a bottle, tried to read the label. I'm pretty sure you found it pretty difficult. And if you haven't, go try it. And if you figure it out, let me know. I'm really open to hearing how you got that done. True story. I love that recommendation. I would say, for those of us who are entrepreneurs, one of the amazing benefits of being a speaker is being able to talk to a group of people who might very well be your ideal clients in a big group, as opposed to doing it one at a time, and then giving them the opportunity to observe you, see what you're all about, and then self-select and choose you. What are some of the places? Because I think people are thinking that they have to go the traditional route, like get on a stage of an event and speak there. What are some of the opportunities that some of us who might be interested in speaking might be missing?
Yeah, I think there are, well, when people work closely with me, we literally like take the blinders off. Like all of a sudden you will see speaking, you'll be tripping over speaking engagements, because it's not that there's not enough, it's that there's so many. So that's the good news. Okay. So you can be selective. You just find your perfect spots. There's a perfect place for everybody. There are different speaking opportunities depending on what industry you specialize in or what type of client you tend to work with. I tend to work with female clients. I have a few male clients, but I just tend to work with women clients. So for me, I would speak at, guess what? Women's organizations. It doesn't have to be 1,000 people. It could be 20 people, because I know with the way that my system's set up, it's available for someone in that audience of 20 to pop up and go, I'm ready. Let's do this thing. And then they get to come in, we get to create some magic together. So if you're, you just put yourself in the room of the places that have your prospective clients. Now, sometimes people don't know what their prospective clients is. Maybe you're, listening and you're like, oh, I'm so new. I don't know who, I could help anybody, right? Well, here's a good tip. If you start to think, where was I 3 years ago? What was my life like 3 years ago? What problems was I dealing with? What was my financial situation or my relationship situation or my health situation, whatever that was that now you help people with. Find people who were in your shoes 3 years ago. That's a good place to start if you're not sure who your target market is.
You shared something with me, Lisa, that stayed with me for a
Oh.
really, really long time. You shared with me about one of your earlier speaking engagements where you learned a really valuable lesson about not judging your audience ahead of time. Would you be so kind as to share that with us here
Of
today?
course. Yes, it's my double wide trailer story. So in one week, I had a few speaking engagements, and one of them was at as I drove up to the address, I realized it was in a trailer park. And as I drove up to the trailer, it was a double wide trailer. I'm like, huh, okay, well, here you go. Now, there were about 10 people there, and it was lovely, and everyone was really kind. And it was some top performers in a direct sales company. And out of those 10, 7 of them ended up signing up with our company that I was representing at the time and spending thousands and thousands, I mean, probably over $100,000. Now, a couple days later, I go to a private, and I live in South Orange County. We're, Real Housewives of Orange County over here. And it was at a private upscale country club. And the room was full of probably 50 or 60 women who all were philanthropists. So you're thinking, okay, they've got tons of money. This is going to be a piece of cake. It's going to be, a walk in the park here. And I did attract one client from that room, and she did spend thousands and thousands of dollars, but I would have thought it would have been a little different outcome. And I remember at the end of the week thinking, wow, I don't really know what's going to happen. I just don't know what's going to happen. And so I never judge. And a lot of times I'm at a speaking event. I was actually at one the other day, and they were like, I'm sorry, there's not enough people here. We thought it was going to be more people. And I'm like, it's all good. I am here to serve whoever is in the room. And that is the attitude I always have. I show up 100%, regardless if there's 1 or 1,000 people. It doesn't matter. You deliver your stuff, and you keep doing that. Just drop that little drop in the bucket every single time, and you will be paid dividends.
I love that. I love that story so much because it's such a great dovetail with the 5 pillars of Grow Smarter. Pillar 2 is alignment, and it's really focused on the idea of certainly being in alignment with the type of event that you're speaking at, but also having a level of detachment where whatever shows up, whatever the universe decides to bring to you, that's going to be acceptable for you. I really appreciate your share, Lisa. And if people are wanting to connect with you, because I know people will be watching and they'll be thinking, oh my goodness, she's so amazing, I want to reach out to her. How can they reach out to you?
Well, you can go to getspeakinggigsnow.com. That's gigs with an S, because of course you want more than one. So getspeakinggigsnow.com. On there, you will find an opportunity to get 5 top tips to get more speaking gigs. So that's all yours for free. Welcome to grab that. And if you're also feeling, I think this was the sign I was looking for today, I think I am ready to get out there and get my message heard, you're welcome to get a speaker readiness assessment with me. And you can find that at getspeakinggigsnow.com/chat. And we will have a conversation about you and what you'd like to put out into the world and what might be holding you back. I'm happy to listen and provide you some guidance.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lisa. And that just lines up so very nicely with our thought for the day. The card that I pulled for us, it says, trust yourself. I feel like there could not have been a more perfect card for us. And this oracle brings you the message that you are growing. You really are. Don't doubt it. Even if you don't see it yet, remember that so much is happening when the seed is still unbroken in the ground. Below the earth, it is summoning up all the might, power, and force it needs to push above the topsoil and burst up into the light. It is essential for anything good to happen later on. Yet, we don't see any of that. We just have to trust that things will happen when the time is right. I think the time is right, guys, for you to get speaking gigs now, for you to get involved with collaboration to grow your business. I want to thank you all so much for joining in today. And I also want to thank you, Lisa, for being such an amazing guest every single time. And I'll see you guys on the next show. Bye, everyone.